What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Second Avenue Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathon and Elijah.
I'm your other host, Elijah Venetia. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. My 4th of July was not very good. I was having good times with my guys, but just the Ox battle did not go in my favor at all. A clean sweep for Jonathon.
I hate to do it to you. I will say, for the record, there's no reason you should not have won with the Bruce Springsteen pick for the 4th of July cookout. That was, in my opinion, I thought that was an easy one for you, but the people said otherwise. So shout out to the people for backing your boy on that one.
It was a riskier pick, though. I mean,
yeah, I think
for our viewers,
very different. Yeah, I think it just depends. Like, my thing I was saying was, you don't have to listen to Christmas music on Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to listen to patriotic music on the 4th of July. So it could really go either way, depending on what you're feeling.
We had a camping trip a few weeks back, and just sitting around with the boys, having a drink, having a few waters or whatever, sitting around the campfire, playing some bags. It was beautiful. To that song, it was beautiful.
So that's not even the 4th of July. So I it's an interesting pick. I thought it was a good pick. People said otherwise, but I do think we should take a look at the full results just so that people know how it went down. Starting off, we had a song with a city name in the title. Elijah picked 5 AM in Toronto by Drake, and I went with Them Boys in Paris by Kanye and Jay-Z.
Fellas in Paris. That's
Fellas in Paris, whatever you want to say. They were in Paris. That's all that matters. I won that one 60% to 40%. Then we had a song with a food name in the title. Elijah went with Peach by Kevin Abstract. I went with Kool-Aid and Frozen Pizza by Mac Miller. I won that round 57 to 43%. Then we had a song by a 2022 XXL freshman. I went with The Sun by Casey. Elijah went with Manute Bull by Babytron. I won 58 to 42. We had a song released in your birth year. I went with Doo-Wop That Thing by Lauryn Hill. And Elijah went with How You Remind Me by Nickelback. Another polarizing choice, but I thought you might have won off that one. It's depending on the people. It went my way, though, of course, 58 to 42%. Then we had a numerical title. We both went with Travis Scott. He went with 3500. I went with 90210. I won 61 to 39. Then we had a song by a Lil rapper. I went with 20 Minutes by Lil Uzi Vert. He went with Nowadays by Lil Skies. I won 62 to 38. Then we had the infamous category, 4th of July cookout. He went with Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. I went with Good Life by Kanye West. And I went 58 to 42. So it was pretty close.
Yeah, so like all of them, we can't pull up the votes after the fact, but all of them were like, I think it was probably within 3 or 4 votes. So I mean, it was close enough. It just sucks, I lost every category, so I'm really gonna have to step my game up. I'm gonna get in the lab. I'm gonna go cruise around after this. I'm gonna go fill my tank up and just cruise around and just find a perfect song for every category that we'll have in the future. So
I respect it. That's like some, Mamba mentality right there. You just took your L, but you're gonna hit your lick. You're gonna be back in blood for the next one. So we'll see. We can't do the next one too soon, but it's got to be.
We're gonna keep them. We won't do them too soon, but I feel like we have them spaced out correctly now. So we'll just throw them up one day. Yeah.
We do need to do it pretty soon, but of course we're gonna need some more categories. So hit our DMs on Instagram. Let us know what categories you want us to pick some songs for in the near future. And who knows, you might get featured in the episode. Another way you can get featured in the episode, of course, is by interacting with our other polls. We ask a question and you respond to it. We want to give you guys some shout outs, talk about your answers to our questions. And that kind of leads us into the topic of today's episode. We're going to talk about our favorite songs and albums of 2022 so far. We each picked our 10 favorite albums of the year so far, and we're going to talk about them in no particular order. We're going to save the order for, the year-end list, and then we picked our favorite song off each one of those projects to talk a little bit more about that song specifically. But we ran a poll or a question on our Instagram asking what your favorite album of 2022 has been so far. We got a couple of replies, so we're going to give them some shout outs here. The boy Marcus says, Scoring the End of the World. Had to look it up. I think it's like a rock album. Did not know it, but shout out to Marcus. Maybe I'll have to give it a listen. Then Amanda says, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. I think you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that one later, but we'll see. Great album. Then we have Trey, who says Brent's album, Wasteland, Drake's album, Honestly Nevermind, or Future's album. So pretty good choices right there. Then we have the boy Mario, who says Too Alive by Yeet. Another good pick.
Definitely. I mean, all great picks there. I feel like for this year especially, like there's not a secure answer so far. Maybe I feel like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers maybe could have been that, but I feel like it hasn't stuck around in everybody's rotation the way that it should have been. So it hasn't blown up the way it could have, So I feel like there's just not a definitive answer out there. It's really based off preference this year. There's not a clear standout yet.
Definitely. But I think that's, a good segue to get into some more choices. Do you want to start us off here with your first choice?
Yes. So we had 6 similar albums. So we'll go through the 6 of the same picks that we had, and then we'll have 4 at the end. That'll be different. But for the first one, we have Dawn FM by The Weeknd. This is early January when we got this, right?
Yep. I think this is like the week before we started the podcast, I think.
Yeah. Because I remember all the him and Gunna released the same week, and then but free Gunna, by the way. But for my track off here, I went with Gasoline. It's just a great track, great Weeknd track. I mean, this album was everything you want from the Weeknd album. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I am such a fan of The Weeknd, such a fan of this project. He's probably my favorite artist of all time, and this project did not disappoint. I feel like there were some, Weeknd projects that I wasn't so crazy about a couple years back, with like Beauty Behind the Madness even, and then some of Starboy I was just kind of whatever about. But then he flipped the switch. I saw that switch starting to flip with My Dear Melancholy, and then we got After Hours, which was just a masterpiece, a classic. And then we get Dawn FM, and
he just keeps raising the bar, or like being right at that level of being one of the top artists in the game. I mean, I think he's definitely, what we talk about it here and there, he's definitely one of we talk about rap or the tier A of rappers, but he's a tier A artist. So
he's above that, I think, at this point. But yeah, like I was saying about the pop albums, I think he was kind of like almost trying to become too pop with some of those projects a little while back. And then he kind of figured it out on After Hours on how he can be pop, but still have his own sound, still be, pushing the genre forward. And then he took another step forward with the narrative on Dawn FM. And it's part of the trilogy. So we're supposed to be getting that third leg somewhere soon here. And then he's going on tour. It's supposed to be looking like a masterpiece. I've seen some of the set design stuff he posted pictures of. It looks crazy. Hoping we get to go to a show. We'll see. And then, of course, to close it out, I got to say my favorite song off of Dawn FM. It's Less Than Zero. The outro track just went so crazy. Just like when I was going through that first listen, something stuck out about Less Than Zero. I thought all the songs were pretty solid for the most part. Really good for the most part, actually. But Less Than Zero just hit a little bit different for me.
This was definitely one where I feel like there was not a definitive number, or like best song on there, favorite song on there. A lot of good choices, though. I don't think any of the answers are wrong. No misses, of course.
Definitely.
But moving on to our second album here, we have Few Good Things by Saba. Why don't you talk a little bit about this project?
I mean, this has been a long-awaited album ever since Care For Me in 2018. Saba, he kind of took a step with Care For Me, and people were really waiting for his next project to follow that up. I thought that was such a well-received project. So many great songs on that, especially Prom King. I mean, that's just like one of the best rap songs of all time, in my opinion. So the bar was pretty high for this project from Saba, and he absolutely delivered. Like, this is such a good project. If you're a rap fan and you've not listened to this project, what are you doing? You got to go give it a listen.
This is one that I feel that flies under the radar a little bit. Saba does as an artist, even. I feel like this project should be huge, and it's definitely one of the best albums of the year, of course. For my track off Few Good Things, I went with Come My Way. Jonathan, what was your choice here?
I went with 2012. When this album dropped, that was the one that we both loved. And I feel like it's been a running joke, like whenever we're in Chicago riding the train, where it's like the Green Line's just how we get home. Like, it's just a running joke for us.
Yeah.
So it got a special place for me. But it's
Definitely,
just one of my favorite songs.
On our Chicago trip, it was like one of those things where we were all trying to go to bed and everything. Jonathan and I just kept saying, just making the green line joke, and we were just dying laughing.
But one thing back to what you were saying about him kind of flying under the radar, we sent this tweet to each other this week, but it was I think it was Debating Hip Hop on Twitter had posted like a couple different groupings of 4 artists and saying rank them. And one he put was Smino, Saba, IDK, and Westside Boogie. And I think that is such a good grouping of 4.
Yeah, that was a great group.
They absolutely all fly under the radar, I think, but are so talented and deserve to be, some of the biggest artists out, honestly.
Yeah. 3, everyone, one of them besides Smino this year has put out phenomenal projects so far. I mean,
facts. I think we're getting some of those later. So let's get into those. The next album we wanted to talk about, though, had to be Ronan Park, Broke My Heart, Vince Staples. What was your favorite song off this project? And tell me a little bit more what you thought about it.
I mean, this album, he just killed it. We're on the 1-year anniversary of the self-titled Vince Staples. And I feel like it is a little bit of a different sound, I would say, with Ramona Park. But I mean, you get a lot. I feel like he raps a little bit more. For my track, though, I went with the blues. The lyrics in it are just so deep. Hard-hitting lyrics in that one, of course. You get that a lot with Vince's tracks, but definitely so far, spoil it, this is my favorite album of the year so far.
Whoa. I didn't think we were to get into that, so maybe I'll have to drop my favorite. Actually, I don't really know what my favorite is. Well, so I'm not going to say what my favorite is.
Yeah,
because I don't have a clear cut number 1 right now.
This one is in the lead for me.
I respect it. It's a great album. I do agree with what you're saying about how he kind of raps more on this than he did on the self-titled project. I think the self-titled has some poppy sounding songs. You look like Are You With That? And, some other songs like that. And not to say there's not songs like that, like Magic on Ramona Park, Broke My Heart, but I feel like it is a lot of, personal narrative rapping. Like he's telling stories and just really good songs. And I think that was a standout for my favorite song, which was When Sparks Fly. Such a good song where he is comparing a girl to a gun, and there's just so many
symbolism
and so many references that could be about either, depending on how you're looking at it. Great song.
No, yeah, definitely. Like he had to come with the deep cutting lyrics, of course, when he's mentioning Ramona Park. So
of course, the next album we wanted to get into, though, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Shout out to Amanda, her favorite album of the year, Melt My Eyes to Your Future by Denzel Curry. We both have this on our top 10 of the year so far. This album is crazy. Such a good project.
Phenomenal. I mean, everything about it, lyricism, production. It was everything you want from a Denzel Curry project. So
100%. Like, he's another person. I feel like that's a common theme this year is there's so many people that had a good project, in 2018 or 2019, and then they had waited a second because of the pandemic and maybe another reason to not follow it up immediately. And so they had a lot of expectations and they have exceeded them. There's so many artists that have done that. We look at Saba, you look at Denzel, and maybe some more we'll get into here in a little bit. But yeah, Denzel definitely did not disappoint. He exceeded all expectations. Such a good album that is also sort of, flying under the radar a little bit. I feel like a lot of people.
I feel like that's
that's
a very common theme for this year. I feel like a lot of these projects are going to be viewed as either very, very good albums or classics a few years in the future. So we'll have to see how they, age and everything, but we're having they're flying under the radar, like we said.
The thing is, I also think it's about where we're from. Like, I feel like if we're from like LA or, Miami, I think these projects would be like everywhere. Like, I feel like a lot of people, we showing them love, but just where we're from, it's like nobody's listening to Denzel like that, really.
Yeah, I get that, of course. It's not, it's definitely, I feel like a lot of these projects aren't the best, even on Ox for, some aspects of them, but they all kill it. They're on my Ox.
For sure, same. And I feel like on every album you got some songs you bump in the Ox, but the one that stuck out to me from Melt My Eyes to Your Future was X-Wing. It wasn't this song initially, but X-Wing has just been going crazy in rotation for me recently. Love this track. So good.
So X-Wing was initially my favorite pick off the album. Then I switched it to Mental. X-Wing, of course, is an amazing track, though.
This is kind of a callback to a couple episodes ago, like a long time ago, actually, I guess. But it was, we saw The Batman together for the first time. and that was the first Batman movie I had ever seen.
Mhm.
And then after that, I kind of, took a little deep dive and caught up. And so when this album first dropped, I hadn't seen any Batman movies. And so he has
Reveal your worst fear.
yes, he has a bar about Scarecrow, reveal your worst fear in the second verse on that track. And like, it just went over my head. I did not understand what he was getting at. Like, I was like, oh, okay, like it was cool, whatever. And then like the next time I heard it after watching the Batman movies, the Dark Knight trilogy, I was like, oh, that was hard. Like,
Yeah.
and now every time I just love it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I always thought of that after the fact, but I guess I never brought it up to you because I just didn't have the timeline right. But I mean, Denzel's pen game it's nuts. It's probably the best lyrics on all throughout a project. I'd give it to him.
I definitely don't think that's a hot take. I think he has so many solid lyrics. I love the King Ghidorah. Shout out RIP MF Doom. I mentioned that back in the episode where we reacted to the album initially. But yeah, it's just such a good project. There's so many good bars, so many good features. Production, amazing. Just cinematic. It's just a great album.
Moving on to our fifth choice here, we have It's Almost Dry by Pusha T. What were your thoughts on this project? I mean, obviously, it made both of our lists here.
We're going to go with Pusha T. I feel like he is one of the most respected rappers out, one of the most consistent rappers out, some of the best bars. He's always going to have great production, and this album's no exception. There's so many great tracks, so many different tracks. Like, I feel like if you look at like a Dreaming of the Past versus Hear Me Clearly versus I Pray For You, there's just so many different types of raps on this project, and they're all great in their own way.
Yeah, and I love how they split their production, half Pharrell, half Kanye. So it's also a cool little detail that they have in there.
100%. And that is, just another part of getting those different sounds. Like, I feel like he's working with two of the best producers out, you know what I mean? So of course he's going to have a beautiful album.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, the way it sounds, this is going to be the last Kanye and Kid Cudi track we're going to get. So it was on this album with Rock and Roll. So
I forgot about that. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but it seems pretty serious.
No, it definitely does. And I feel like they're, getting older. Like, who knows in general how much more music we're getting from these people.
I mean, yeah.
Together, I mean, even more unlikely, I feel like, but still hopeful that changes, hopeful that we get it. But I'm glad that we got what we've gotten. And I mean, that Rock and Roll is a good song. So
definitely. I mean, I feel like at a point in time, you could say the same thing with Kanye and Jay-Z, that they would never do another track together, but they obviously have Jail and Donda, so never say never. True. I guess
that's true. What was your favorite track off of It's Almost Dry, though?
It's Almost Dry, initially it was Rock and Roll, but it did end up changing. I went with Scrape It Off. How about you?
I actually don't remember what my favorite song was when we talked about it initially in the episode. I think it might have been Just So You Remember. But since it has turned into either Call My Bluff or Brambleton, I think I'd go with Brambleton. I think I'd give that the edge. Brambleton just goes crazy. I love the bar about had a million answers, didn't have a clue when Michael kissed Fredo in Godfather 2. I will say that is another movie I have not seen, but I do get the reference here.
I also have not watched The Godfather.
Yeah, but it's like, I get the reference. I still love that bar. Like, it sticks out to me, even though I haven't seen the movie. So I think I'm gonna have to watch the movie. That, if you're new to the podcast, if you haven't heard me talk about it, I am horrible about watching movies. I actually just went and watched Thor, the new Thor movie.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm going tomorrow with Anthony. So
that's the second Marvel movie I've ever seen. The only other one is Endgame. So it's like, what are we doing? So I'm bad about watching movies, but the Thor movie was pretty good. Like, I think you'll like it.
We'll see. I mean, you're a little bit of a casual with the MCU. I'm at the theaters every time. So
I went with our Uncle Ray, who is definitely
I've seen mixed reviews.
Casual.
Yeah,
Ray is definitely not a casual.
Definitely not.
He's been in the comic books. He's been in everything since he's the OG. So yeah. If he says it goes,
that's an OG Loke right there.
That's an OG Loke. So if he says it's good, it's good. I'll take his word for it. He thought it was pretty good. So I didn't know what was going on, but I feel like they kind of in the movie they kind of explained things. So I was like, okay, like I knew what was happening. We actually watched like 1 hour of Thor Ragnarok. So I was like, okay, like I knew a little bit, but I didn't see the ending, so I really don't know what was happening, how it all wrapped up. But yeah, pretty good movie.
Definitely. Moving on to our sixth and last mutual album we have here, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. You can't have a list, a top 10 album list in the year Kendrick's dropping, and not have it on there. But we did a whole review on it in episode 17. So if you guys haven't given a listen to that, please go do that. I mean, that'll have all our thoughts on it there. I mean, this is, I bring it up almost every week. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. So
straight up. But I do want to, talk a little bit about what was your favorite song for the people that might not.
No, of course. Yeah. No, so initially my favorite song was We Cry Together. I mean, just such a unique track. Still, it had like such a fall off on the Billboard charts, but still in my rotation, of course. But I did change it up on my favorite track, and I went with Mr. Morale. I really loved what Kendrick and Tanaleo did together.
It's a great track. I did not expect you to say that. So that's a good one. I was just listening to We Cry Together like the other day, and I remembered that you said it was your favorite one initially. I just like that stuck out to me. I don't know why. Like, it's just such a unique track, like you said. I mean, I just can't see myself listening to it like casually often, but in
when
the,
it comes
scope
on,
of the album, I'm like, okay, this goes hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's so nuts to have like an actor outperforming Kendrick Lamar on a song. I mean, in my opinion, she outperformed him. Kendrick held his own, of course. Like he wasn't a slouch, but
no, definitely not. But Taylor Page, she did her thing. This is an album where I feel like my favorite song on it changes often.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
At first, it was Father Time and Crown, which I feel like Crown is like a very, very slept on track. There's a guy I watch on YouTube. His name is like Bob the Pop Pop. I don't know if you've seen him before. He's like he has a channel. He does like rocker reacts to different videos or rap albums. But he's really good creator. So go check him out if you haven't and you're into that sort of thing. But he did his favorite songs he's heard in the process of doing his reviews. Like, I think it's been a year since he started. So he went over the favorite songs last year, and Crown was like number 1 or number 2. And I was like, okay, because he's the only other person I've heard like really show it,
praise it. Yeah, give it the shine.
Yeah, but I think that one's kind of a little bit out for me now. Like, I'm kind of definitely moved on to some other songs, but at first I was like really wild by that song, and I still love it, but it's not the one I'm listening to as often anymore. I think that would have to be either Savior or Silent Hill. I am just bumping those two often. I love
Savior,
the Baby Keem
so good
feature.
The interlude too.
Savior interlude, of course, fire. Both the interludes are hard.
Definitely. Keem did his thing.
100%. And of course, the boy Kodak Black on the other interlude. So yeah, great project. And I mean, this is another project that, just like Pusha T, I didn't mention about him, but he's another person like Saba that they had, a couple of years between their last projects and such high expectations.
They delivered. Yeah,
delivered.
This year has just been so crazy for music. Well, when we're wrapping up, we'll get into that a little bit more.
But now we're going to move on to our 4 other choices for 10 of our favorite albums of the year so far. These are the 4 that we don't have in common. So do you want to kick us off with your next selection?
Yeah. So for here, I had You Can't Kill Me by 070 Shake. Beautiful album. This has like been one that's really, really stuck in the rotation recently. Just been on repeat since it's came out. For this one, I think initially it may have been Web that was the track I chose, but now I have it as Invited. It's the 1 and 2 track. I may be mixing those up I may have it Invited the first time around, but Web and Invited are definitely my 2 favorite tracks off that project. So
fire. That is a project that did not make my list, but it's so good. And I think with a little more time, it might make my list at the end of the year. So
just such a beautiful album.
100%. Like, I loved it, but I think I should get a little more time with it. And I just, there's one here that I haven't had much time with, but I love it that much that's made the list. But I think this is one I should a little more time with, and I think it can make the list of the year. But my next selection, I ended up going with Sick by Earl Sweatshirt. I mean, Earl's one of my favorites. We can get with Earl, just like Pusha T, production, bars. Such a good project. This is another one early 2022, but it's stuck in the rotation throughout the year. There's so many good tracks.
Definitely, that's another person where, I mean, you can look at him where he almost flies under the radar, but he always delivers every single time in terms of production, lyricism. I mean, every aspect of music, Earl Sweatshirt always delivers. So
big facts. I love this album. I was hoping you and I were gonna get the chance to see it on tour, but the boy Action Bronson
Yeah,
had to
he
get his
folded. He
tonsils out
folded
or
like
something.
you.
Or no, his wisdom teeth. Yeah, his
Yeah,
wisdom
he
teeth.
was like
Yeah, I'll
you.
say it was just like me. So it was a shame, but it was on my graduation night, so it kind of all works out. But hopefully I'll get to see Earl sometime in the near future. He's coming to Pitchfork Festival in Chicago. Kind of want to go. So might have to make the move. We'll see. But my favorite track on this project was Fire in the Hole, the outro track. I feel like I'm such a sucker for a good outro. And like, I think that's a lot of times my favorite track is the outro track, just because I think if it's a good track that concludes the album and just, I don't know, has a certain feeling to it, like I'm just drawn to an outro. I don't know why.
Definitely. I mean, that the outro is very, very important. That's how you're
100%.
finishing up the album. That's like such a big thing for me on Ramona Park Broke My Heart. The blues, it perfectly leads into comes full circle. The beat that it finishes off on goes what it leads into on the opening track. Moving on to our 8th project here. For me, I had D-Day, Dreamville, Gangsta Grills mixtape. Delivered DJ Drama, crazy on the production, obviously, as always. And then, of course, J. Cole, all the Dreamville, Boss, JID, all those guys, of course. I feel like not much needs to be said about this. I mean, they just delivered with banger after banger. For my personal favorite, though, got to go with Ghetto Gods Freestyle. Earth Gang he does it for me there. 2 Chainz as well. We had a night on the 4th of July on the ride back from Bloomington. I played this and
it did hit. Earth Gang is not, they fly under the radar. Their album didn't make my list, but I mean, it's a great project as well. So if you ever heard Earth Gang's project, go give it a listen. But D-Day, such a strong project, so many hits throughout it. I really love like Stick. Stick goes crazy.
Stick is nuts.
I mean, that's like it in constant rotation. It's in my gym playlist, so I probably listen to it like once every 2 days. Like I just love it. It just hits.
Kenny Mason does his thing on that. It's just,
oh yeah, I love to see Kenny blowing up with the Dreamville project. But yeah, great project, great selection. My next selection though, I went with Candy Drip by Lucky Day. I gotta say this. My boy Mitchell texted me last Monday or Tuesday, I think, after we watched the episode. He said I used the word smooth so many times when I was describing tracks. I didn't really notice that. I don't know if I did or not, but this is a smooth project. This is arguably the best R&B release of the year so far. Lucky Day goes crazy. There's so many good tracks on it. But my favorite was NWA with Lil Durk. Oh, I've been listening to this song like crazy. This project is fire. If you haven't given it a listen, you got to.
I'm gonna let you finish, Johnny, but 070 Shake had the best R&B project of the year so far.
Okay. I'm not mad at that.
I gotta defend it. Yeah, I gotta defend my girl.
I'm not mad at that take, but I think, I said it might be. And I think I might have
you didn't give a definitive answer. So.
I think I have another one that I'll get to in a minute that might be the definitive best. The next one I went with, though, I went with Simple by IDK. This project is just so crazy. You get the production from K Tronada. Short project, but you can just run through it. It's just great.
Short, but it gets the job done.
100%. I mean, there's a couple little skits on it, but then other than that, you get great tracks. You got Dog Food, you got Drugstore, you got Taco. So many different vibes, but they all have that cohesive sound, I feel like. Great project.
Definitely. Obviously with the close IDK ties with you, we had to get him on this list here.
Of course.
Well deserved, of course.
My favorite track on it, though, was Drugstore. I didn't say that. I love Drugstore. Such a great track. There's so many good bars, especially like in the second half of the track. Like the head like Neutron got a blast. Oh, that's a bar.
Yeah, that is tough. I feel like that's another one, it's just very well-rounded lyricism, production, everything brings it all together very well. Flies under the radar as well.
Nice.
My project here, though, I had Drill Music in Zion by Lupe Fiasco, obviously. This is probably my favorite production of the year, going back through and listening a few more times, giving a few more listens. Initially, I had, I think it's Goaty, is how you pronounce it.
Oh my God. You know what I saw?
What?
That song is pronounced fish.
What?
It blew my mind. because they took, it's like apparently a thing. So if you take the GH sound from Enough, the O sound from Women, and the TI sound from Motion. Isn't that kind of crazy?
That's nuts.
Because
Okay,
there's like,
so
I'll show the screen. It's like there's like it's a Googleable thing. Like, because I just Googled it because you said that. I was like, I'm sure it's what it is. But I was like looking up the lyrics or something, so I just searched the name. And I saw that and I was like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, what?
all right,
Actually, I think it was the needle drop. The needle drop said fish, and I was like, what? And so I looked it up and I was like, that blew my mind.
Okay, so allegedly it's fish. I'm gonna call it Goaty. Allegedly it's fish. So, but it has since changed. Got to go with Otto Bodo. Fire track that you said that was the one he performed off Drill Music in Zion when you saw him last week.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that, but I did see Lupe in concert last Saturday. Put on a great show. He's, I would say, maybe the best rapper I've seen live, like ability wise. I was just blown away. Like, he just has such great breath control and lyricism on stage that it's like very impressive. He made a point to say that he was only going to do one song off the new project just because nobody knows the songs, but then he ran through all the hits. Superstar, Daydreaming. I mean, it was great. No complaints, except for he didn't do Paris Tokyo. He kind of like teased it and he didn't do it, and I was like, oh, what are we doing? But he played some great tracks. It was a great show.
Definitely. That after hearing you talk about him, I may find myself at a Lupe Fiasco concert. I'm kind of interested to see, of course. It's high praise, best rapping ability, you said. So.
He killed it. He freestyled for like a minute and a half. It was so fire.
Moving on to our last project for each of us here. Do you want to kick it off, Johnny?
I will. I kind of mentioned that we were going to get another R&B project because I said maybe it's the best R&B project. I was talking about Lucky Days project. You talking about 070 Shake. It just dropped, but I had to go with Brent Faiyaz Wasteland. I mean, this project is so good. We're going to talk a little bit more about it later, I'm sure. We're talking about all the releases. But I mean, man, Wasteland is just a great project.
We won't get into it too much for now.
My favorite track, though, I'll say that. I feel like sometimes you like to guess. What do you think my favorite track was?
So me and the Young Bull, we had the same one.
Is that Rolling Stone?
Yeah, that's gonna be my guess. Is Rolling Stone for you?
It is not Rolling Stone. It's actually All Mine, but Rolling Stone is definitely close behind it. I love Rolling Stone as well. I love a lot of tracks on it, but isn't that one that I feel like it's so early that I don't have like a clear favorite?
Yeah. I mean, you let Serenade for a few days, of course, but
100%. But I think it's All Mine. That's the one that I feel like I just go back to and queue up the most. But yeah, great project.
Moving on to my final album here. We have More Black Superheroes by Westside Boogie. Absolutely fucking killed it here. I mean, I feel like a lot of my projects for this year, especially, like, weren't too much rap, or it's a different kind of rap, I guess, than what Westside Boogie came up with here. And he absolutely killed it. So I guessed your favorite, or I attempted to guess your favorite. So I'll let you do the same. I'll let you follow suit.
Okay. On the Westside Boogie project, I think you're gonna pick Killer Mode.
No, that's right up there, and it's top 5 for sure. Can't even lie. Soulja Boy doing his thing on there, and then Westside Boogie killed it.
It's a great choice. This is another project that I think I need a little more time with, just like the 070 Shake project. Like, it might end up on my list at the end of the year. Like, this is definitely not a concrete 10. That I'm sure there's been more projects that are gonna, contend to make this list. These are definitely not set. And there's some that I have already been out that I haven't had enough time with. Another one that I really need to go back to, I haven't given a listen yet, actually, is the Aaron May project. Aaron May. I liked his last project, some of his other songs, but I've been hearing really good things about his new project, but I have not had the chance to give it a listen. But I think, if that's living up to the hype that I'm seeing online, I think that one, Half Touch, will maybe end up in that top 10 at the end of the year. So we'll see, though. Who are some other people that you're kind of, waiting for that you want to see if they can make the list?
I mean, Trav's gonna make the list. I feel like he has to. I mean, I'm expecting a classic from Travis Scott, of course. Who else is dropping this year?
I mean, we got Joey soon.
Joey Badass. Sir, we'll get into the single that he just dropped this past week, but
yeah, but Joey, and we got Freddie Gibbs. That's another one that I feel like we haven't chanced. Yeah, that could be coming. But Freddie's the one I'm real excited for. I feel like it could be coming anytime. It's been pretty quiet from Freddie recently, and I think he's definitely.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we got the fall off from J. Cole this year as well.
Ooh, that'd be big.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got a shock drop.
That would be special. I could see it though.
It's been teased, it's coming. It's just a matter of when.
Definitely. I think in the next 365 days we will get that project, but who knows if it'll be this year or next year.
But I mean, like, just wrapping up this first half of the year, we started in January. We've kind of been able to live all these through the podcast pretty much, but it's been a fucking crazy year for music. There is so many like great projects. I mean, it's been a great year. I think it's only so far better. Too. I mean, we're not even. We still got 6 more months worth of music to get through. So the first 6 months did its part. We'll see what the back half does. See if it follows suit.
Facts. And we just talked about albums. There's so many singles and just Lucy's that have been great, that have been soundtracks to my year so far, that I can't wait to get into those at the end of the year. So if you enjoyed, this kind of list, make sure you follow us, make sure you stay tuned, because the end of the year is going to be special. We're going to be putting out bangers all of December. That's so far away, but it's going to be
we know. We talked about it. We did just talk about it, like planting that seed a little bit, just like how much, like we're going to have so many, like our top 10 albums a year, going through our replay and Spotify rap. Like, I'm ready for December. I'll turn 21. We'll get an after hours podcast episode maybe.
No, we are. I won't spoil it for the viewers, but I have a plan for your 21st birthday.
Okay. We'll be able to do something like an after hours one where I'm able to have my first alcoholic beverage. So see what happens.
It's gonna be special.
Yeah, no, ever. Of course.
Special. But let's move on to the news. I mean, of course, we got to start with the releases. We talked about Brent Faiyaz already, but there's other albums that dropped this week, of course. We got Westside Gun, Ken Carson, SSG Kobe, Code of the Friend, and the Kid Cudi compilation project. What has been the standout to you from this bunch?
Obviously, Wasteland. I wasn't able to put it in my list just because how fresh it is. I mean, I think it'll probably make my list by the end of the year, just off first listen or first few listens. I'd give it, I'd give it like a 60 to 70% chance. That's pretty high, considering how much time we have left. Obviously Brent killed it. Pretty much, I feel like met my expectations. Everything I wanted from a Brent Faiyaz project. How about you?
100%. I've been waiting for this Brent project for so long, and I mean, there was like the skits. The skits were interesting. Like, I didn't know how to feel about the skits on the first listen, but they're growing on me. The last one is so long though. The last one's like 5 minutes, but it's such a good project. He
solidified himself as the Toxic King. I mean,
man, I will say, like, the last skit where he gets in like the car crash or whatever, in the headphones, that sounds crazy. Like, I feel like they have to have a video or something for that. Maybe like that leading in to Angel, like, like a little like 12-minute video or whatever. I thought that could be fire. Just because it's such like a cinematic, hearing like a car crash in your headphones, it's wild.
No, that is, I didn't even think of that. Like, thinking a visual of that.
I was like, I mean, I've never really heard a skit like that on a project. I don't think, you know what I mean?
That long, and like, it's pretty in depth.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then, I mean, it just really, I could see it in my head. Like, I could picture what was happening. Like, it was wild. One other thing that just really stuck out to me in this project, it was just a super random detail. It was on the song Role Model. Part of the beat reminds me of the like second half of Stronger by Kanye, where he's like, "I need to do everything at the time, right? And everything for Klondike," that part, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, where the beat like zzz, You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. No, I get what you're.
I was like, did they sample that? I don't think they did, but it sounds so similar. So if you're listening to that, let me know if you hear that, because I think I'm tweaking, but I do think I can hear it sometimes.
I'll go through and I'll text you afterwards. I feel like I somewhat know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna have to hear it to
100%. Yeah, I didn't know if me talking about it, but everybody's listening. Go listen to those 2 songs. Let me know if you hear it. But this was such a good project. There were such big name features throughout it. And then you get a couple smaller artists like the Junie and Trey Amani. Alicia Keys, she was an underrated feature. Like, she
Ghetto
kills it.
Gatsby.
I knew you were gonna
Yeah,
love that one.
you knew me and Marisa were gonna love that one. You send it in our group chat that we have. Great Gatsby is one of my favorite movies ever. So I definitely appreciate the love there. So
yeah, I was loving it when I saw that track, and I heard it for the first time. I was like, oh,
it's a good
the
track
Great
too.
Gatsby was gonna love it. Yeah, a great track. Yeah, if it sucked, I mean, it'd be like, oh, it'd be funny, but yeah, the song hits. So it's
have you watched The Great Gatsby yet?
I have, a long time ago.
Oh yeah, you need to rewatch, because Mauricio executive producer, Devin executive producer, and me co-host here. Like, we all fucking love that movie.
I know. I'm notoriously not a big reader. So when I was in high school, we were reading The Great Gatsby. And so I just watched the movie. I didn't read the book. And I mean, I did well enough. I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And the Spark Notes, of course.
Yeah, no. Spark Notes went nuts in high school.
Oh yeah. I would not have survived without Spark Notes. But yeah, shout to Get Up Gatsby. I mean, it's such a good project. And we'll see where it lands at the end of the year.
Definitely. Even although it didn't make my list now, I do think it'll end up making it, just seeing how it ages, of course, but he delivered. So, and I don't see it falling out of my rotation.
Nah, definitely not. I probably listened to it like 4 times or whatever. I went to see my friends this weekend. It's like a 2.5 hour drive each way. Plenty of time to listen to music. It was a great trip. Listen to Brent album each way. So it was beautiful. Did you have a chance to listen to any of these other projects?
So obviously, I had to add in Love by Kid Cudi, with kind of like the greatest hits project that he just released there. And then Ken Carson, I also was able to give a listen to. I need to give a listen to West Side Gun and SSG Kobe as well. I mean, I feel like these are all projects I want to listen to. Even the Ken Carson one, it was just kind of a quick run through while I was at work. So I just don't have too much feelings about it yet. But I mean, from what I heard, it was pretty impressive so far.
That's how I was to listen to it on my car drive as well. I thought that was pretty good. Like, definitely you're gonna get some good production with those like rage type beats on the Ken Carson project. He's gonna do his thing with the vocals. It was a good project. Didn't like blow me away though. I was like, oh, it was like,
yeah, no,
the best. But I could definitely see myself going back to it often and listen to the tracks on the regular.
A good starter project for him though. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, we kind of both talked about him not being on the XXL freshman list. I think maybe with this project he would have been.
He did recently change his name. It's not in the news here, but took the $ out of his name.
Whoa.
Fault.
I will say, from like a marketing, I got my marketing background and stuff. You do too, I guess. But I'm big on like search engine optimization and stuff like that. And the $ just makes things hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless, it was a country singer actually that appeared before him.
Wow.
A country singer from like the 60s. Yeah. So it was like, I guess he's decently big. So he's the one who, like, the initial like headliner it has for him.
That's pretty surprising. But like another example of the, change their name a little bit, just a little bit, is JID. Like JID on Spotify used to be J.I.D.
Yeah.
And now he's just JID. And
yeah,
I mean, that's just a good move just for like typing it in purposes.
Yeah, Travis Scott back in the day as well, taking the $ out of his name. I feel like anytime any artist has a $ in their name, they get to a certain extent they copied ASAP, all this.
And they like kind of outgrow it. Like, I feel like, I don't know. ASAP Rocky is different, but I feel like a lot of other times it kind of like ages poorly.
Yeah, I could see both sides of it, but I don't know. It's their name,
Yeah, but like, I will say ASAP Rocky he's like just like he's basically just Rocky at this point. Like everybody knows he's just Rocky. and ASAP's like the group.
Yeah, it's Ferg or
Yeah, but like I feel like they all kind of for Rocky 12 like they're just the second half. Whereas Travis Scott with a dollar sign, like I think at a certain point you kind of like outgrow it. Like if Travis Scott was like 35 and he had a dollar sign in his name, you'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for someone like Travis Scott, so such a large figure in music or like outside of music, even, with Jordan Brand, McDonald's, all these collabs, it's good to have just his name, Travis Scott, versus
Facts. It just hits. But the dollar sign was fire. I do love the dollar sign most of the time.
It's a nice little touch.
It's a good touch. But we, of course, got some good singles this week. We got Joey Badass, Fabio Foreign, and the Kid Leroy, Doechii, Murder Beats featuring J Balvin, Pharrell, Quavo, Anita. And then we had Killer Mike featuring Young Thug. Did you have a favorite single from this bunch? I know you kind of alluded to the Joey Badass single a little bit earlier in the episode. What do you think about that song?
Survivor's Guilt, he killed it. I mean, he killed it with his the other single he released a couple weeks, or I think it was a couple weeks back at this point. But Survivor's Guilt got me very, very excited for 2000. I was excited before, but if that's the vibe we're getting from 2000, we're gonna be talking about this album in December.
I think you might be right. Survivor's Guilt, such a good track, such like an introspective track from Joey. Obviously, the loss of Capital Steez like played such a role in Joey's career. Who knows where they'd be if they were both together still. But he tragically passed away, obviously, as well as his cousin that passed away that he talked about in the song. I mean, Joey's had some losses throughout his life, and he's definitely shaped him in the person he is today. I mean, it's kind of crazy hearing him talk about like the fact that I forget which one of them, one of them would not get to meet his daughter, and I was like, damn, like I don't know, like that's just crazy. And he didn't make it to 25, his cousin. I was like, and I don't know how Capital Steez was, but I think he was probably younger than also too. But man, just crazy how a loss like that can impact somebody.
Definitely. Were you able to give any of those other singles a listen this?
Yeah, I listened to the Murder Beats single as well as the Killer Mike single. I need to listen to Doechii, and I do need to listen to Fabio Foreign. I don't really go to my way for Fabio and the Kid Leroy, but I gotta give a chance. Really?
Yeah, Faiyaz is my guy too, but yeah,
maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. I'll listen.
You need to give it a listen, but I just felt like what those two did, it didn't mesh.
Yeah, I think they are very different, and I don't think that's always a bad thing. Like I think really cool things can come when you have two people.
When done correctly, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you don't do it right, it can be like ugly. So I'll have to give it a listen, but I don't have the highest expectations after that comment from you.
Yeah, even the Kid Leroy back in the day, that was my guy in summer of 2020. So
hate to see it. But let's move on to some other news from this week. This was one of your top 10 favorite albums of the year so far, Drill Music and Zion. We got some news about it. This is the first Lupe Fiasco studio album to not chart on the Billboard 200. What do you think about this?
I mean, it fits perfectly into the theme of flying under the radar, I mean, not the end all be all though, because it's still a very good project.
Definitely. I feel like this is another one of those projects. We gotta talk about that with Mr. Morale. It's like headphone music. You're not like always going to be bumping this in public, whatever, on the aux, but there's a lot of people who listen to it like throughout their daily life in their headphones or, by themselves or whatever, but not necessarily in a group setting or whatever. Like there's not really a banger on it besides like Autobado. So I can see why it kind of is getting a little bit less recognition and a little bit less acclaim and a little lower streaming numbers, but it is such a good project that it deserves much more, and I think it's getting respect but not the streams, which is a trade.
Yeah, I mean, regardless if fucking this album goes number one, or I mean, Lupe's a legend regardless. I mean,
facts.
I don't and it's a great project, so I don't think it matters too much.
No, I don't think any of it matters, but I just think it's a good way to kind of like
to gauge, to have a good gauge on things. Yeah.
And definitely getting slept on. Let's move on, though. We got some more news to get into. A quote came out from Danny Brown talking about his collab album with JPEGMAFIA coming soon. Danny Brown says, Peggy's coming through this weekend. We just have a few last songs we got to finish for our project. And once we're done, it's off to the races. The thought of us going on tour together is really exciting to me. Are you big into either of these artists?
I listen to JPEG Mafia more than Danny Brown. I love that you called him Peggy, or it's funny nickname, but I'm not too huge. I remember it was one of the early episodes you brought up JPEG Mafia, so I started listening a little bit then. So I mean, with this project, I feel like with doing the podcast and everything, it gives us an opportunity to listen to all these albums that are coming out. So this does definitely be what I'm listening to.
Facts. Now, like, without the podcast, there's no way I'm listening to like Post Malone. There's no way I'm listening to like Kid Leroy and 504, and you know what I mean? But like, I gotta give it a listen. I gotta be a little bit informed, at least, you know what I mean? But now this project is so like has such good potential. I mean, these are two of my favorites. Like Danny, it's been a bit since he put something out. He's another one. I thought he was gonna drop his project 40 a while ago, but then he turned 41. So you're like, I don't know, is it ever gonna come? But him and JPEG Mafia together would be crazy. And then the thought of them going on tour together is really exciting. Like that's what Danny said, but I absolutely agree. I would love to see those two together. I think it's JPEG. He's going on tour with like Snail Mail and Turnstile, which are like complete opposites. I mean, they're not rap. I just can't imagine what those shows are going to be like. But I think him and Danny together, I would have to be.
I don't think I'm gonna call him JPEG Mafia anymore. I think he's just Peggy now.
No, he's just Peggy. I feel everybody calls him Peggy. I mean, that's one of the best nicknames in rap. So good.
Moving on though, Kid Cudi. We had his quote unquote greatest hits. This next upcoming week, A Kid Named Cudi finally coming to streaming services. What are your thoughts on that?
I love The Prayer. The Prayer was one of my favorite songs from Kid Cudi, and so to finally have it on streaming services, oh, it's gonna be great. And I haven't listened to the project that much, so to be able to give it another good listen when it officially comes is gonna be great.
I'm the same way, like for Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, obviously, did his thing there. Those are always been in my rotation. But I mean, past that, I haven't given any other projects like too in depth of a listen. So I'm excited to listen to it. Obviously, Prayer. Everybody knows Prayer.
Facts. Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like there's so many people that are like, Kid Cudi saved my life. Kid Cudi has some of the most hardcore fans.
Hardcore, yeah.
So like, I think a lot of people would be very happy about this album or mixtape being added to streaming services now.
Definitely.
Another track we can expect to get next week, Calvin Harris featuring Halsey, Pharrell, and Justin Timberlake. I know you're a Justin Timberlake fan. I'm a Pharrell boy. Halsey does her thing. I think this track, we were kind of talking about it a little while ago. We don't have like that song of the summer locked down yet. I feel like there's some potential here.
Loads of potential with this one.
And Calvin Harris, of course, he's going to kill the production. He's going to get the vibes just right. I think we have a hit in our hands where I'm excited to get to this one next week.
Definitely. I mean, we don't get too much like into the pop music, but something we're definitely both excited for. So
100%. Another piece of news here. Day in Vegas 2022 has been canceled due to some, different hardships behind the scenes. Got canceled. Very unfortunate. This is one of the best lineups of the year. I don't think there was a chance I was going to go, but it was a crazy lineup.
Rolling Loud deleted all their tweets, but they were trolling fucking hard. They're going like posting just hella.
Oh my god, I respect it though.
They were trolling hard. It was pretty funny. You know me. I'm a Rolling Loud guy, so
I think I'd be team Day in Vegas, but I mean, having to cancel the whole festival is tough.
That's not a good look.
Nah, tough.
Speaking of Rolling Loud, though, they're talking about a phase 2 for New York, adding additional artists. A lot of the Cardi stands weren't very happy. Where's Cardi? Where's Trav? They were both on Day in Vegas, weren't they? They may need that check.
I know. I mean, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if they said that right after. So I do think it is because they're gonna take some people from Day in Vegas.
So they've teased it pretty hard too, and last year they added in Megan Thee Stallion and Trippie Redd, and they didn't. They just updated the lineup card. They didn't really do anything. And those are two pretty big, pretty large artists. So I mean, if they're teasing
yeah.
a phase 2 on this, I don't know.
Gotta be somebody.
Pretty optimistic on someone here.
Yeah, gotta be somebody pretty big, I feel like. But I mean, I feel like at that point though, you just take any extras. Like,
Yeah,
it could be anybody.
I'm very satisfied with the New York lineup. Like I feel like it was getting a lot of hate, but I really like it. I'm very excited for it, of course. So
definitely. How many days do we have until Rolling Loud Miami?
I will be flying out in 12 days. Today's the 9th. You guys will be
Ooh.
listening to this on the 11th. So for you guys, I'm flying out in 10 days. For Jonathan here right now live, I'm flying out in 12. So
Exciting stuff. But yeah, I think that kind of about wraps up the episode. Anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Jonathan and I had talked about this. We'll set the date. When I get back from Miami, we'll put a little more hype into it. We are doing the giveaway. We're not going to do it at 200 followers. We'll do the giveaway. So stay tuned for that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we'll take this one. This one's on us. We should not have done like when we get to a number, we should have just done it after we got to the number, honestly. So it's the 100 follower giveaway at this point. But I'm excited to get this out to one of you guys. So officially, we'll do the live on Instagram and stuff. We'll make the announcement soon.
We'll do it by the end of the month. By the end of July is what we'll do it by.
And you know what? To make up for it, we kind of had you guys, hanging on for a long time about this. We'll end the episode with a big announcement. Merch is on the way.
It's coming.
And that's all. That's
the mic drop.
That's the mic drop. Thank you guys for tuning in.
We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
See you guys next week.